You find the people that need to like you, and you help them like you by giving them what they need. And I'm going to surprise you with this. It doesn't have anything to do with your business and what you do. It has to do with them and how they buy. And that is one of the things we're going to concentrate today is how winnable opportunities work in September. And I'm going to turn this over to Pat Suarez, because Pat, as a former federal buyer, tell me what happens in September. So what to do right now. You need to identify the decision makers. You need to leverage existing relationships. We can help you with that. And you need to get introductions into key decision makers, and we can help you do that. Another shameless plug. Let's talk about industries, office supplies, and I'll let Pat, if you got something to throw in, you can throw it at any time. But we're going to talk about particular industries here. Office supplies. These are the spikes in office supplies, the number of contracts that are written in September. It looks like the heartbeat, and that's one of the things I'm going to look at. Just, there's a pulse, boom, 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 and it happens in September. A lot of times it's within the last week in September where people are doing. Now, the planning stages are happening all the way through that time, and that's why it's important to be able to get there. In fact, these people disappear. These people start to disappear at the beginning of August, and then by mid to late August, they're entirely disappeared because they're working on budgetary items for next year. And they're finalizing their budgets, and they're getting that done, and then all of a sudden September hits, and they're like, I got to spend a ton of money, and I got to figure out where it's going to go. And that's where all that stuff goes. So IT services, local electrical services, all the trades fall into these types of categories. Military supplies, no shock there. Air purification equipment, how about like niche areas like that? Same thing happens. Architectural services, mediation services. And that is where we want to talk. We want to talk about what's happening in your market and what's happening there. And we're going to start asking questions. Again, getting back to your screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them out there. I'm going to open my question panel, see if any is there. Here we go. Every time I do this, I mess something up. Okay. Is this the same webinar that will be held on the 13th? Robert, that was my own fault. I should apologize for this up front. I set up the webinars, and I set them up for Wednesday, June 30th. Well, Wednesday's not June 30th. Today's June 30th. So that was the first mistake. But then when I did them, and I'll get to you, Pat, David, in just a second. It somehow messed up in the process itself. So this is actually the one that's the same on July 13th. There's no July 13th one. Just to let you know. And how do you enter your PIN? Okay, if I'm going to find you, Pat, and make sure that I can get you in here. I will send you your PIN, and you enter it on your phone. Where did Pat go? I did not see Pat. Where's Pat? There he is. There's his question. Are you there? Pat, are you there? I got you unmuted.
Yeah.
You there? Excellent.
I'm here.
Excellent. So you figured it out. You didn't need my stuff. So, but that's that.
Correct.
So I'll go ahead and do you have a question or any other questions, or do you? I'll put it. Yes. What do you got?
I don't have a question yet.
Okay. I will. I'll mute you and ask and see if anybody else has a question. All right. You can text those things in, or you can just raise your hand and let me know that you have something, and we'll get you out there. So if you don't have any questions, we'll continue on. I'm going to talk about a little bit about how procurement weeds you out, and we're going to get to some GSA components too. If you have any questions about GSA stuff, please ask questions, because we got Pat here, and he is the expert for that. Here's what happens. They don't know you, don't like you. That's the number one reason you get weeded out. If they can't possibly buy from you if they don't know you, and they won't buy from you if they don't like you. So, and the other thing is not having a contract vehicle. And here's where I'm going to open it up to Pat and say, what is a contract vehicle, and how do you get one, and what does it mean?
Well, a contract vehicle is a GSA contract. It's an agreement between you and the General Services Administration for a specific set of goods or services, and you get it by looking at what you want to offer, matching it up with the GSA schedule system, which our Director of Sales and Marketing, Jamie Zell, does quite nicely. And once you're matched up, then you go through the the proposal process, and something like 75% of the proposals that don't get help from companies like mine get rejected because the requirements are so bizarre. But that's basically how you do it. You go through the process, you go through the documentation and the psychology. And one thing that I want to toss in real quick here, Dave, is that keep in mind that no matter if you're dealing with a GSA contracting officer or a standard agency, a PCO or contract specialist, these are human beings. They have feelings. They have problems. They have good days in their lives. They have bad days in their lives. Anything that you can do, if you say, look, Angela Jones or Relinda Brown or Dean Gillis or Yvonne Salas, these are real names of real people with whom we've dealt at GSA. If you can say, I'm going to try to make this as easy for you as I possibly can. Whatever you need, you ask me, I'll try to do for you. They're going to warm up to you. And Dave made a really great point of trying. You try to get on these people's good side. You try to become friends, as it were, with them, and you do that by helping them. Look, whatever they write up is going to go to a review committee. It's going to go to the JAG, the Judge Advocate General's office. And if you can help them make the paperwork as complete as possible, they will help you get an award.
And they do that because it helps them do their job.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you help, you can't treat these people as if they're indentured servants. I mean, they are human beings with feelings.
Well, wait a minute. They work for me, right? I pay I pay taxes. I pay their salary.
Yeah, go ahead and try that with them. Sure.
I can tell you how well that works.
Yeah,
and I didn't do it, but I've heard people in the protest process. Let's say you lose, and you go in, and they go in guns blazing, and they get time with the contracting officer, and they proceed to berate them of how stupid they are for choosing their competitor, and how they've totally messed up, and oh, by the way, we deserve this because we pay your salary. So these are the types of things that I would say. I'm not even going to tell you not to do those, because if you're doing those kinds of things, you're too stupid to get involved in this. So the objective, again, is like Pat said, is to get to know these folks and really understand their world and care about them. If you care about somebody, it's not hard to help them. And their job is not easy. I wouldn't want their job. I'm telling you, I would not want to be under the pressure of doing that, and the issues of those things. So the contract vehicle itself, a GSA schedule, or whatever it happens to be, there's other contract vehicles outside of GSA, but GSA is the easiest one to get in most instances, because there's already things that are out there in the marketplace, and they take this and they put it into a formula that is used by anybody. Can buy off GSA, right? Any agency can, correct?
Yes, right, exactly.
So, yep. and that's what a GSA schedule will get you, is access to those things. One of the other things of how procurement weeds you out is non-government materials, and we're going to talk about that specifically, something that you can do today that doesn't cost you a whole lot of money, just your time, and they'll give you examples that you can set up and you can use as an example for you, that you can make for you in non-government materials. And what I mean by that is, most of the time, if you're working in the private sector, you're talking about business, you're talking about clients, you're talking about customers, you're talking about profit and loss. Those things don't mean, well, they don't. It's not that they don't want to save money. It's just that they don't mean what they mean in the private sector, and they don't use those terms in the public sector like that. A low level of past performance. So everybody that's on this call most likely is in this boat. You don't have a whole lot of past performance, so you have to be able to establish that past performance. That can happen either direct with federal government agencies. It can also happen indirect, working as a sub to a prime. And you can also use your private sector experience to say, I have that kind of experience. We've done these things before, and it looks like this. And, oh, by the way, if they like you and they say, well, that's good enough past performance for me, then there's your level of past performance. And also, it gives you an entree into the federal space. So we're going to talk about the non-government materials, which is what you probably have right now. We're going to talk about making one that is government-oriented. It's called a capability statement. And this is really your company resume. We suggest that you make two. You have one page, which is kind of like right in your face, and then you have one with multiple pages with tons of detail so that you can show the depth and breadth of your organization. Your capability statement should be one-pager. We're going to talk about this right now. It should be simple, easy to read, has your contract information if you have a GSA schedule or whatever it happens to be, no frills, no business speak at all. None of the stuff that you've done out in the, and make sure, it's so important I put it on there twice, your contact information. And we're going to look at one right now, and that'll be one of our clients, which is Show Call, which we talked about a little bit earlier before. And you can see that we like to have the kind of thing that makes it work is American flags and eagles. It's not necessary. Some of our clients don't have those, but it never hurts to have it. Show Call, they do event planning, as you can see. If you look on the left side of the screen, you will see that there's the contact information, address, all the components there. Then you start to see what's important to contracting officers, their small business, the DUNS number, their NAICS codes. If you're not familiar with NAICS codes, you can look those up as well. Your cage code. Then you get into the GSA schedule, which happens to be 541, and some of the components there. That tells us, or it tells people in the federal government that are buyers, that says, hey, these guys know what they're doing. They already have these things. The left side of this is designed to speak to your contracting officer. The right side is designed to speak to the people that are going to be utilizing your services or products. And these are your program manager, your project manager. So what we do is we want to set this up so that it speaks to both. Now, your contracting officer is, you know what they want? They want one thing. They want to move a piece of paper from one side of the desk to the other. Now, they want to do it with the right person. And that's what's important. But that's what they have the support people for, your COTARs, your technical representatives, and your project managers to go through and say, okay, give me the technical requirements, which is going to be on the right-hand side of this screen. And on the left-hand side is what the contracting officer is interested in to be able to do it. So then we start talking about major accomplishments. How about major accomplishments like a nuclear summit? How about the G20 financial summit where you have the 20 world leaders sitting around a table, which, by the way, is this picture right here up at the top. When I first saw this, I walked in their office. I was like, I have no idea what happened in that room, but it sure looks important to me, and found out it was the G20. So it's very interesting. They've done the presidential inaugurations. They have reference customers. Obviously, you can see the depth and breadth that Show Call has, and we show them everything that they need. And obviously, your contact information is the most important thing because you don't want to make them work hard to do it. I've had people actually say to me, well, our information's in CCR. They can find us if they want us. I'm like, okay, why don't you make them go through 3 extra steps for you? I'm going to give my information right to them. If you're going to make them go 3 extra steps for you, well, I'll wax you up and down the street every single time. Because what your objective is to make it easy for them. And that's one of the things that Pat said, and I could not agree more with in that particular component. So we did the samples. I'm not going to go through the extended version, but your extended version has all the important information that your page 1. This is the other capability statement that we recommend that you do. It shows depth and breadth, has detailed projects, has your references and contacts. Actually, so, and everything is public to them, by the way. Well, I say public. They have their own little rating system that's behind the curtain where Oz is moving everything. And, but they rate you when you do these things, and they will look at that to make sure that you are supplying what you need. So, yes, they worked on the G20 summit, but let me tell you something. If they mess up that little Holiday Inn thing and they get a bad report, it goes in that report, and and it gets seen by the procurement people and the contracting officers. Am I right or am I right, Pat?
Oh yeah.
So
yep.
It's very important that those government references are critical to you. And most of the folks out there right now don't have those. So we're going to be talking about how to circumvent